right, a special welcome to all our viewers on this very special episode sponsored by FMF, the finest premium Ceylon tea. In this episode, I have a very special guest, Nafitalai. He is from Spinal Injury Association. Nafi, a very special welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Hassan.
Yes. Actually, we were talking about it, and that there has to be some level of awareness. Lots of cases coming up. Some of the cases have been more like very deadly, but something has to be done. But right now, we have you in the guest list. We had you in the guest list, and we thought, why not? I want you to drink the tea, enjoy that FMF, the finest premium Ceylon tea. But Nafi, to start with, your life has changed after getting this injury, if I can say that. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. How did it all happen?
So listen, I think my story starts back in 2005, where as a young kid, 16 years old, having the time of his life, and getting invited to go to my uncle's place in Vanoleu. So I'm originally from Vanoleu.
So it was just a normal life?
Just a normal life.
No issues?
No issues.
Okay.
Full of life, young teenager. And getting invited to go to the village when you're from the city.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a very big thing.
And you get the warm welcome and everything.
So we went there for Christmas.
Happy moments.
Happy moments.
Yes.
And we decided to go out to the nearest river.
Okay.
And just have a small swim with some of my cousins. And I just stood on the side of the river.
On the side.
Wanted to have a dive.
Yeah.
I dove inside, but not knowing that it was shallow.
Oh my God.
So when I dove inside,
exactly
river,
same type of accident did happen to me. I went also to Vanoleu, and I went to a place where Valelawa, the river is there, and then it so happened that when they asked me to dive, I dived at one place, but I kept on going underneath the current, and went into a very deep area.
Yeah.
So it was very risky. And somebody had to literally pull me out of that. But coming back to your story,
I dove in not knowing that it was shallow.
All right.
All I could remember is the crackling of my spine.
Oh.
And when I came up, I couldn't feel my legs.
Was it the immediate pain, or it was numb?
So it was numb. Totally numb. No movement of the legs whatsoever. Limited movement in my hands.
All right.
And because the river was very shallow,
the bed was what? More like gravel, or was it?
Gravel.
Okay.
So rocky. Gravel kind of a river, and the current was very strong.
Right.
So the current started taking me downstream.
Because you were not active.
I was not active, and everything was numb.
Right.
I didn't know that I was paralyzed back then. Calling out to my cousins for help, and you know, small kids. Teenagers, there's a lot of playing around that happens. So
they must have made fun of you.
They thought that I was actually making fun and making a joke out of it, but I was actually calling out for life and asking for them for help. But fast forward that, current taking me down, and it came to a certain point where I was anchored into one of the sides of the rivers. My uncle comes down, starts looking for me. They find me there, and then I was taken to the hospital in Lambasa.
So, the minute you are lifted, the numb was still there.
Numb was still there.
But there was a pain?
There was pain in my neck? Where the spine had actually broken. And when I was taken to the hospital,
you told them that this thing is happening?
Yeah, it was very hurtful. I could feel the pain. I was telling my uncle that there's something wrong with me. And I told them that it's probably my neck. So they had transported me, and because my uncle's farm is in the interior of Bulilaka inside.
Right. Yeah.
and gravel road and all these things. So they had
So the bumpy ride,
very bumpy.
that added.
I think that they added a lot more issues
Yeah.
to the condition that I was already
And
in.
if it was an expert thing, they would have known how to pick you up,
Definitely.
right? Or
Definitely.
they would have used as separate
Yes.
things to actually take you there.
Yes.
Or
And
proper ambulance or something like that.
Yeah. And because not a lot of people that was educated on how to move
Yeah.
people at that time when you have a spinal injury or a broken spine, just the moving of me, that was something that I think caused more
More
issues.
pain and more issues.
So I got to the hospital at Lambasa and I was told that I had a spinal injury.
On the spot,
On the
as
spot.
soon as after seeing you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
As soon as after they saw me. And because I was 16 years old,
Yeah, right.
they couldn't do anything, any operation. So I had to wait for my father, who was here in Suva.
Right.
Dad comes along and I was told by one of my uncles that was medical superintendent back then to not do any surgery and just see if I'd be able to heal up through
By
physiotherapy.
itself. By physio.
Yeah, by physio. And then I was chartered back to Suva, where I spent around about 6 months up at the rehabilitation ward up at Tamavua.
Okay.
So at the
pain continued.
Pain had continued,
right?
And now I had to do more.
Your movement was restricted.
Very restricted. So I could only feel from my chest up. So from chest on top I can feel, and from a chest below,
nothing.
I couldn't feel anything. Rehabilitation started. It was a long road to recovery.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to sit up again, how to feed myself. But back then, because of the high support needs, there was supposed to be someone who'd always have to be by my side.
24 hours more like.
And just figuring out how to, work through life.
Yeah. It was more to do with, probably we can describe it like bedridden.
Yes, it was. I was bedridden. I had someone who had to help me out in the bathroom, shower, and just to think about it as in, you're walking one day,
and the
next day that you're lying down.
Totally.
Flat. Yeah. So depression started to kick in. It was very hard. The first few weeks up at the rehabilitation was very hard for me. Depression started kicking in.
How many more people were in that ward?
There was a couple of people there with a spinal injury.
And they had the same type of treatment?
Same type of treatment. And there was a lot of back and forth with the physiotherapist, sorry. And just trying to work on what I have left.
Okay.
And the road to recovery was very long, but it was also very lonely.
So there was sort of no energy level in your legs? Totally finished?
Totally finished.
Just numb?
Just numbness.
And as you said, up from your chest?
Yeah.
That's the only area that was more like
yes.
You could move?
Yes, I could move. It was very hard back then, but I'm very fortunate.
Eating habits changed?
Eating habits changed a bit because I had to relate and also communicate my body with the food that I was getting because of the change that had happened. So I had to change my eating habits as well. But one thing that I was very thankful of was the support service that I had.
Family support?
Family support. I had friends and I had my church. So there was 3 things that I was very fortunate of. With the support that I had from family, from friends, and also from my church, my faith, I started picking up.
That recovery process, once you have a spinal injury, the recovery, does it recover or it is still there?
Yes.
And sort of like your movement will still be restricted?
So spinal injury is a bit tricky injury or disability.
It could be a nerve just that is giving you that kind of issue.
So a spinal injury patient or someone who has survived a spinal injury may take so many times or may take long in years to really fully recover, but you can recover. One thing that I've seen along the years is physiotherapy is very crucial. To try to remind the body that you need to be moving in this certain
Right.
way and just exercising and eating right. And that's something that I've been taught.
While you had that injury, what was going in your mind?
Wow.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to ask you.
No, that's good.
But definitely our viewers, our listeners,
Yeah.
they'd like to go through what sort of like a person goes through
Yeah.
and understand the pain that they're going through. Right? So what was all the time going in your mind?
Yeah. Like I said, you're walking one day and then you have to be fully reliant to someone who's by your side.
Mobility
24
is
hours.
finished.
Mobility is finished.
Right.
If you want to go to even outside,
Yeah.
you need to ask someone to put you on the wheelchair.
Right.
So like I said, depression really kicked in. The questions about what future
You must have
may
lost
look like.
weight too.
I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And what the future would look like started rolling in. And when you're on a hospital bed
Right.
at night, you have nothing to do, and the only thing that you do is thinking. The thoughts that are coming in in your mind. So depression really started to kick in, and I would not shy away but to say that there was some certain of suicide moments that happened.
No.
And it really disheartened me because
The spirituality side of it, how much did it help?
for me, I would say that was my main source of strength. To have something to put my faith in and not myself, because when I looked at myself, I was done. I was out of the count. And to know that, something like faith, spirituality side of things would put me into in a place where I would say, no, I can come out of this.
Okay.
I will come out of this victorious. And that's something that I'm very fortunate about.
You mentioned that your church was very much involved into it. Of course, this is a very special episode coming to you with the kind compliments of FMF, the finest premium Ceylon tea.
Every morning, wake up with a smile. With FMF tea, it's all worth the while. Hey, 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 it's an FMF day. Tea time is calling, you need a quick fix. With FMF tea, you have the right mix. Hey, 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 it's the FMF way.
FMF Finest Ceylon Tea is second to none.
Hey, 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 FMF all the way.
Thank you so much for the support, and of course, we're enjoying a very wonderful chat with Bai, who has been our special guest. And just to sort of like recap, this is something that of course we won't like anyone to go through, but he has gone through some of the tough situations, especially with his spinal injury. Now, after so many years of all the sort of physio work and a lot of things behind the scenes, what do you think of it now? I'm talking from the day in comparison to today. The day it happened and in comparison to today.
I totally think, Sen, that a lot has changed in Fiji when it comes to someone who's really struggling with spinal injury. One good term is support. Support that has been given now either through government or even OPDs or organizations for persons with disabilities. Back in 2005, where I went through it, there was less organizations or groups that were looking after persons with disability back then. But now when you come up to 2024 and also looking at things that have happened, there's a lot of organizations that support services that are in Fiji that is helping persons with disability, let alone spinal injury patients.
And now you have your association or your own association too, right? And what is the role of that association right now?
Yeah, so the Spinal Injury Association works, initially started off by persons with spinal injury, knowing that there was a need to help support persons with spinal injury and give them that support. And when we do know the amount of money that is needed to even just buy a simple wheelchair. And that's, I think, was one of the reasons why they started it back in 1994, 95. But Spinal Injury Association now has evolved into looking after persons with physical impairment. Anyone who is needing a wheelchair, a hospital bed. We work with donors that are in overseas in order to bring in these mobility devices, and that's our main core thematic area of helping persons with disability, getting these mobility devices in Fiji and distributing it to the people of Fiji that need it.
That need it.
Yeah.
So, do we have enough specialists to look after people with this kind of disability?
So, I would say that there is still a need
Right.
here in Fiji. One good example is here in Fiji, we don't even have an occupational therapist,
Right.
a specialized occupational therapist that will look after the needs of persons with disabilities. That's one big need that's here in Fiji. We need a lot of support services or personal assistance, like carers, paid carers. Right now in Fiji, it's all about love. And if you have a person with disability lying at home, the first thing that happens is the family needs to look after that person.
You have very fluent in nice English and maybe written too.
Yeah.
Because I haven't checked on that, but I'm quite sure you must have it. So, do you think you're getting the equal opportunities to work somewhere, or you think you'll be able to fit in all those in our sort of day-to-day work?
Truthfully speaking, SN, as a person with disability, going through it now for 20 odd years, there is still a fight that we fight for in terms of equal opportunities. Accessibility is one big one.
All right. Do you think all the buildings have got that accessibility, or there are some still to be done?
Yeah, I think that would also answer itself when you just have a walk around Suva.
Right.
Everywhere in Suva, the new buildings that are coming up are
Wheelchair accessible.
wheelchair accessible.
Right.
It's the old ones that we need to look into.
The shops?
Shops, yes. Some of the shops that I own.
Are you treated equally when you sort of like going to a shop, like another customer, or
There'll always be that look that is given. Stigma is something that we fight for every day.
Right.
Every time we come out of the house, it's just that look, and I think that's one thing that we always try to address when we go out. And as a disability advocate myself, I always try to speak on that and try to change the mindset of people in Fiji.
With the mobility thing, also we look at the vehicles, transportation vehicles. You have a special vehicle to transport you?
Yeah, so there's a vehicle that we have, but it's only one here in Suva.
Right.
It's an accessible vehicle where we have a ramp that comes up.
So buses don't have it, right?
Buses don't actually, yeah.
But how do you manage? You still have to get the special vehicle,
Yeah,
right?
so a special vehicle is something that we have to put our rely on.
Right.
As a wheelchair user, we know here in Fiji that all of our buses have stairs. So that's one thing that we always try to advocate and fight for. If we're talking about equal opportunities, the government has already ratified the Rights of the Persons with Disability Act back in 2018.
So you still have to vote too?
And we still have to vote.
Yeah.
So the rights are there, but in terms of implementing those rights is something that we continue to fight for. One good look at our transportation system.
What about those footpaths? Because that is also very important.
Yes.
You must have that ramp type situation where you can sort of
definitely
take your wheelchair and things like that. Not necessary that you need someone to push you every now and then, but at least you have something like that. Are those facilities around?
Yeah, the facilities are now are changing. Like I said, here in Suva, you could see some of the changes that are happening right now. For a good example, I can wheel myself from GPH right up to Westpac.
Okay.
And if you follow that route, you'd know that the ramps have been changed.
Right.
So the ramps are more into the right ratio or the right ratio ramps. But when you go across to Vodafone Triangle, you'd see those ramps are still missing. I would call them mountains.
Okay. Yeah. You need a sort of like very polished type.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are ramp ratios that companies and now organizations are using. and it's a universal design. And we're very fortunate to have the City Council looking into that, and now following those universal designs.
Those electric wheelchairs, will that help?
It would help, but considering the environmental or the geographical place here in Fiji, we have highlands of Nafitalai, we have places, so it would work well in the CBD.
In the city?
Yeah, in the city. I have a scooter, so I take the scooter sometimes from work to the shop, and it helps me a lot. But if I were to take that scooter in some places where it's not conducive, those are the things that we
Okay. FMF, the finest premium Ceylon tea, a very special episode. But I just also want to know the support that you're looking from our community. Is it there, or you think more could be done?
More could be done, SN. And that's one thing that us as organizations for persons with disability really look into, advocating for the rights of persons with disability in that area, in the community. And like I said, trying to change the mindset of people. Yeah, we can change legislation till the cows come home.
Right.
But the thing is,
has to be implemented.
It has to be implemented, and that's one thing that is very crucial. You can implement, but also have some ramifications of if you don't implement this. You get certain things like penalties that are put in place. One good example I could give you is accessible car parks that are around the city.
Right.
We have accessible car parks, but who is actually using those car parks?
Using those car parks, exactly.
And that's one thing that we always fight for. Can there be penalties that are put like we have in America? I had the good chance to go for an exchange trip back in Washington, D.C.
I think they have special parking slots.
Yes, definitely.
People with their disabilities.
Yeah.
And it's all marked. There is a fine if someone else parks it.
Yes.
When you sort of like go around different places and all those, the mobility towards or your accessibility to the washrooms, is it okay? Is it possible? Because some are very tiny ones, small ones.
Yeah.
And when you look at the size of the wheelchairs and all those things,
yes.
How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I think it boils down to the universal design, like I was talking about.
One standard
fits all.
Yeah.
And things like accessible toilets, accessible parking, they have a universal standard where the measurements are the same. And it's good to see that the new buildings and all of the new infrastructure that is going up here in Suva and also around Fiji is actually following those standards. Okay. And like I said, it's the old ones that we need to work on and make those actually accessible for persons with disabilities. Yeah.
Have you come across anyone making fun of you or something like that?
Yes. That's one thing that as a person with disability...
You're more like a stigma type?
Yes, it's a stigma type. Making fun, one good example I could give, as a wheelchair user, it's very hard to catch a taxi. The thought being is, when you see a wheelchair user, you'd have to put him inside the car. You'd have to go get off your car as a driver and go and put the wheelchair inside. And those are the things that we get every time. We don't even get a reason of not being transported. We just get a look and drives off. So, and those are the things that we go through, and we're working closely with LTA to try and address these situations. Because we had looked at the PSV Act, and in the PSV Act it says that all PSV drivers need to adhere to persons with disabilities needs when they're getting into the vehicles.
Do you miss your favorite sport?
I do miss my favorite sport. My favorite sport was back then was rugby.
Rugby.
Yes, but I'm very fortunate and also happy enough to also know that there is an organization that is in Fiji that is actually looking at wheelchair rugby.
Yeah, I think to some extent there is Paralympics and all those things happening, which allows people with disability to actually participate in it, which is a very good thing, I must say. But I know it's tough, but life is also a struggle.
Definitely.
And I'm so proud that you are sort of smiling and taking life as it comes. Today I got you as my guest, and I'm quite sure after watching this program, there will be a lot of changed perceptions. If a person within our community wants to help a person like you, what would be the process like?
There's a lot of things that we could do.
You said you needed some chairs, wheelchairs, and all
Yes.
those things.
So one thing that Spinal Injury Association does is they bring in containers full of mobility devices. These devices are brought in, like I said, it's given for free. The wheelchair that I'm sitting on right now, if I were to buy it here, I said, if I were to buy it, because it's a custom-made wheelchair, you're looking at about $8,000 Fijian. And this was given for free. So those are the things that Spinal Injury Association works on. It works collectively and also in collaboration with other organizations. Currently, we are in collaboration with the Vodafone HH Foundation, where they provide a certain grant to get these wheelchairs to come in. A container to come in from the UK or from overseas roughly costs around about $30,000. And that's one thing that we always give out, and we're not shy to let people know, because at the end of the day, persons with disability are going to be helped. At the end of the day, our doors are going to be, we're going to have people knocking from CWM asking for wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, and it's just rightfully for us to give those to the community which they need it. One way to work out in terms of if you are wanting to help is through fundraising, or even just giving alms, or just giving out donations to the organizations. And there's a lot of us that are doing tremendous work. Not only SIA, but we've got the Fiji Disabled People's Federation and other organizations that are doing tremendous work for persons with disabilities.
I'm a very positive person, and I don't know why I sort of feel that way, that a day will come. You'll be literally walking. You have that kind of positiveness in you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I said, my faith has played an important role in my recovery. I put a smile on my face every day, knowing that the next day is going to get better, and that's one thing that is always at the back of my mind. It's been 20 years now that I've been on a wheelchair, but I always remind myself that if I continue to work on what I'm actually doing, physiotherapy and trying to work on, I'll definitely have that thought of walking again. But at the end of the day, we continue to believe in the God and the Creator that we have, and continue to just have faith in it.
When sort of the approach was there, I mean, just before I let you go, when the approach was made to you to come into this Navtarang program, what was the first thing in your mind that sort of like you started thinking about? What was that?
Okay, truthfully speaking,
I just want to
truthfully
listen
speaking, when I was invited to come up to Navtarang, the first thing that came to mind, are they going to ask me to speak in Hindi? And
correct me if I'm wrong, you were trying to get some of the Hindi words.
I was trying to get my Hindi words. I was like, okay, I need to get my Hindi.
Some PK,
I said, PK, bahut kaise, Ahmad Nam, Nafi. I was like, okay, I'm gonna. And then when I came in, then I spoke to one of your officers. He's like, oh no, you can just speak in English. I said, okay. I don't have to bring out the lambasa in me when I sit here. So but I'm very thankful for the invitation.
No worries. Bye. Thank you so much for making that effort to come into this program. I'm quite sure a lot of people will know what's behind the scene, what's to do with the organization, to do with the person who's with this disability. Lots of knowledge being shared with our viewers. Once again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.